Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we will be looking at the iPhone 6 and deciding whether it's still worth getting one in 2020. So the iPhone 6 came out all the way back in 2014 and that makes it really old, especially in tech years right now in 2020. And in a nutshell, I would absolutely not recommend you guys get the iPhone 6 whatsoever right now because there are a ton of deals out there which would give you much more value for your money than the iPhone 6 ever could. So in terms of the build quality and design, let's begin from there. So the iPhone 6 was Apple's first foray into this new design language. So we have moved away from those boxy iPhone 5, 5S designs to this nice, sleek, thin, rounded edges, sleek design. It feels really good in the hand, and right now when you compare it to newer iPhones, they pretty much carry the same design. However, when you compare it to the glass-backed iPhones like the iPhone 8, the iPhone 6 right now in 2020 feels a bit dated and a bit cheap, especially with those big, large white antenna lines. I really never liked them. But I have to say that the design is still pretty okay, I guess, because it's still carried on the iPhone 8 and will continue to be carried on in the rumored to release iPhone 9 or iPhone SE 2. But one thing you need to know is that this is not the 7000 series aluminum. So the aluminum the iPhone 6 uses is very soft and it's not quite durable, especially when it comes to drops. Just because of the thinness of the iPhone 6, these devices did have a lot of issues, especially when it comes to bending, especially the iPhone 6 Plus. Now, in terms of the display has held up quite well, I would say. Now, it's not going to give you any of the latest features. It's not 3D touch enabled. You do not have True Tone or any of the fancy stuff. It's just a basic LCD display on the iPhone 6. Now, in terms of the quality of the display, again, Apple's LCDs are really good, and the iPhone 6 has a quite decent LCD. It's not going to get as super bright and vibrant as the newer iPhones can, and you might find it a bit hard to see the display, especially in direct sunlight. However, it's still quite a decent display. Viewing angles and color reproduction are quite good in my opinion. Now, if you want a larger display, again, obviously you will have to move up to the iPhone 6 Plus display. But in terms of resolution, again, this is just below 720p, whereas on the iPhone 6 Plus you will get 1080p. Now, in terms of performance, the iPhone 6 is powered by the Apple A8 processor. And when it did come out in 2014, again, it wasn't any big champ in terms of performance. It was a minor upgrade from the iPhone 5S A7 processor. And right now in 2020, the A8 has really slowed down, I would say. Apps take quite a bit of time to open up and load. And furthermore, since the iPhone 6 has only 1 GB of RAM, you will have a lot of instances where your apps will shut down and reload, especially once you move in to the fifth or the sixth app. So that is one of the main bottlenecks when it comes to using the iPhone 6, and that's one of the main reasons that the iPhone 6 didn't get iOS 13. As you can see, the YouTube takes quite a bit of time to start loading up, and once we get into multitasking, how about Safari? As you can see, there's a reload. Let's try music. All right, it isn't as responsive no matter what, and I have to say that Apple has done their best. I mean, Apple still continues to support the iPhone 6 in terms of security updates. As you can see, Twitter is quite taking some time. And right now, in terms of software updates, we are on the latest iOS 12.4.5. So it's really nice to see that Apple still thinks of these older devices. And 12.4.5 again doesn't bring anything new to the table. It's pretty much basic. It's just a security upgrade, no new features, no speed improvements or anything. It was just a basic tiny update, and that's where software support pretty much ends on the iPhone 6. So in terms of app support, however, right now I haven't noticed any issues because most of the apps on the App Store, you will notice that the minimum version required to run the latest version of the apps is pretty much iOS 11 or iOS 10, and right now the iPhone 6 does support iOS 12. So I guess you could say it's still good to go for another 2 to 3 years in terms of app support, because even if you you can still download older versions of apps, but as we go ahead in the future, the iPhone 6 again will start getting outdated in terms of app support. But in terms of the overall audio experience, the iPhone 6 again is a letdown, as you've just got one little bottom firing speaker right there. It isn't really loud anymore, and it really does take away from the experience. Moreover, the cameras again are quite disappointing right now. It's got an 8 megapixel rear camera, which maxes out at just 1080p when it comes to video, and a front 1.2 megapixel camera, which again is quite frankly pretty pathetic right now. Moving ahead, again, you do not get any fancy stuff in the camera app. As you can see, it does take quite a while. So you do not get portrait mode, any portrait lighting effects, nothing. It's pretty much the bare bones stock camera app, and that's the story of the iPhone 6, guys. Right now in 2020, the iPhone 6 is still pretty much just bare bones iPhone, just bare bones iOS. That's what it's offering you right now. It's pretty much outdated. You are outdated in terms of software, in terms of the cameras, in terms of the processor, and very soon you're going to be outdated in terms of app support. So basically it's pretty redundant looking at the iPhone 6 anymore. But however, I guess the only reason I could recommend someone picking up the iPhone 6 is that if you really want a very, very cheap budget iPhone, again, especially to use as secondary device, is something you really don't want to spend a lot of money on. If you're just looking at something that's going to be functional, the iPhone 6 is still going to be quite decent for you. If you're just going to use it to make calls and watch a few YouTube videos here and there, if you're a light user, the iPhone 6 is still going to do pretty decently. Looking at battery life though, I have installed an original Apple battery onto this device, so you see the battery health is at 100%. However, battery life really doesn't do well, especially when you are using the phone for a lot of demanding tasks. As you can see today and for the past few days, I have been using Google Maps a lot, and the screen on time today was just about 2 hours, so that's pretty much not so great. And for the past 10 days, if you look at the map, it's again just about 2 hours again. So the battery life isn't doing so well, even though it's got a fresh battery in it. However, I have noticed if you do not use the iPhone really hard, if you're just going to use it as a very basic user, then the battery does sustain. But obviously, you're not going to make it throughout the day. You got to at least charge it once. However, battery life is really not that great anymore in 2020. So that's it, guys. The iPhone 6 in 2020, it's boring, it's outdated, and it's not recommended anymore. That's it. So guys, if you did like the video, hit that like button, that subscribe button, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.